Hi, welcome back. So I hope you guys are seeing that I'm trying to use my AdSense and not my fingers on the needles. Twofold. Yes, we're in gloves, but we've been maybe doing some other stuff throughout the day, or we're in a long surgery case. It's not, I mean, even though we're sterile and we do our best, bacteria still continues to grow. So the less we can, hold the needle, the better off we are. You'll also see that I am holding it at about that 90 degrees. I'm going to enter the skin at 90 degrees. For those of you that are left-handed, basically you're going to turn that needle opposite. And again, you're going to do that 90 degrees into the skin. Again, it's opening the door. That's all you're doing. It's a simple little movement and task. All right. I'm going to go back to my right side, and we're going to do some vertical mattresses and horizontal mattresses. Vertical mattress, keep in mind it's a vertical, okay? So it's up and down. So we want to go far, far, near, near. And the reason is that we are gathering enough of that tissue to bring it forward on in an area that we don't know. It might have thin skin, or it just might be an area with not a lot of fat content, that we just want to make sure that we've everted that skin, so that as the sutures are removed, it'll flatten out very nicely. All right, that's the whole purpose of eversion. Plus, we're getting the cells that are actually still continuing to grow. Remember, that top epithelium is all pretty much dead. Okay, so we're going to do vertical mattress. Again, I'm going to kind of figure out what works for me, and here I am. Because I'm going to split this with vertical and horizontal, maybe even a locking horizontal for those of you that are interested. I'm just going to use this space here and probably only throw 2 or 3 of the vertical mattresses. All right, so remember, we're going, let me do the middle one, far, okay? And you also want to think long term. 2 weeks from now, if this suture has to be removed, do I really want to bury it out of the patient's arm? Probably not. So how wide am I going to have to make this space to get a scissor up underneath there? All right, so things to think about. Again, it's kind of that whole process. Sorry for my hand being in the way. All right, again, I'm going far, okay? Now I'm going to turn the needle. Some of you struggled a little bit with this. Turn the needle basically so that I'm at the 90 degree of the skin. And now I'm turning the knob the opposite way. All right. But this time I'm going near. I don't want to be too near to the edge, but I don't want to be too close to this one either. So I find that happy medium kind of in the middle, between the middle barrier. And I'm in line with where my other suture went. All right. I will go ahead and pull this one through only because it is a longer suture and it has great memory. So that's what we call the rolls that you see there. One way to pull those out is just pull on the suture itself. All right. And then I'm going to come up underneath. It's about the same distance, middle. And now I'm just going to guide that down, make sure that I'm not pulling too tight, okay? Again, we're going to do our surgeon's knot, all right? I'm going to put my Adson down. We do 2 throws or 2 wraps around the needle driver. 1, 2. Hopefully you can see those. And then I'm going to grab the tail. The tail then should end up on the opposite side. I should have a nice flat area right in here. Now I'm going to place that needle driver back in the middle, and I'm going to roll towards the tail. and then I'm going to pull the tail opposite of where it just was. All right. Pull towards the tail, roll, and pull towards the tail. All right. That is going to be my vertical, so that's up and down. All right. Horizontal, think about it in the sense of horizon. Horizon is going to be horizontal. All right. The horizon, the sun sets horizontally, so that's how I remember it. And that'll give us more surface area along the area. But for now, this is the vertical. And I'm going to throw 2 more. Again, I go deep, deep, far, up through the middle, switch out my suture. Are you seeing my hands too? Okay. Deep, far, and I just pulled that through. So let's do it again. Real life, it happens, believe it or not. Just grabbing the edge of that tissue, which it doesn't want to let me grab. I am going to try and match up to where I am on the opposite side. Turn my needle. And if the suture is ever in your way, you can always just brush it back. These are all the little tricks of the trade. And because I don't want the memory to get in my way, needle drivers, not that great. Dropping the adsen, dropping the needle. I'm going 1, 2, grabbing my tail. I want it to go on the opposite side. Now I've got 1 rotation around my needle driver. Opposite side my tail goes. Again, forward towards the tail, opposite it goes. Again, forward towards the tail, opposite it goes. So that's 4 throws. Last one. Going out far and deep because I want that tissue to really evert. Going near. One thing I want you to kind of recognize is that even though I'm pulling, I'm not strangulating the tissue. So I'm not pulling it so tight that that tissue is dimpling and doing this, all right? That is not what I want. I want a nice eversion. Looks pretty good. I also have nice loops here, so when I go to remove the sutures, I'll have something to hold on to with the edge of the scissors, which you can see is hooked. I can just hook right up underneath there, cut it, and then you just pull the suture out that way, all right? But 1, 2, right? And then we're gonna crisscross. Now I do like to go forward when I crisscross, but because of the camera, I've been going backwards. So again, needle driver in the middle of my knot, I roll it forward towards the tail, and then I go opposite, okay? I'm just gonna pull that out so that it doesn't hinder in the way. I then needle driver in the middle, roll forward towards the tail, and I'm going to tie that knot. I'm going to do the fourth one and call that good. So that is going to be your vertical mattress, all right? Horizontal mattress. Very similar to what we've just done, except that you're not going deep and far and deep and far and near. What you're doing is you want to approximate really right at about the same distance, all right? This is again for something if you want to evert the skin really, really well. So I'm gonna hit it right about here, maybe, I don't know, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters maybe, okay? I'm coming up under the skin. Again, I do go in the middle. So now instead of going near, I'm going to reverse my needle here, and I'm going to go equal distance to where I was. Just a millimeter, or well, few millimeters. Really try not to grab the tip of the needle very often, like I just did there, so what not to do, all right? Now this one gets a little tricky because my tail is closest towards me and my suture is closest towards the opposite person. So I have to adjust. I can't really move my person around, so what I will do is I will take my needle driver and place it in between the tail and the suture, and again roll towards the tail, 1, 2. And then I'm going to grab the tail, okay? The tail was close to me, so I would expect it to go to the opposite side. See how nice and flat that lays? I could actually take my hands off of it and it would sit like this. Now if there's any major trauma, somebody were to push on it, obviously it could dehisce the wound and come untied. But we have insurance here, so I'm gonna go roll forward and crisscross, and see how nice that knot ties up. Roll forward and crisscross, roll forward over the top and crisscross, all right? So that's gonna be my horizontal suture. To save on time, and because I do want to show you the locking horizontal, I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I think it's a good suture to use. I'll be honest with you, I only used it when I was a student. I have yet to use it in actual practice. I would probably use it like a below the knee amputation or somewhere where I'm really trying to gather some of that tissue together so that it will really find a good basis to grow back together. Staples have taken its place, I would say, so not always is this in favor, but if you get a chance to use it and you think the wound would do well with it, I would use it, so why not? Again, same technique that we have going in. Oops. Man, got shaky all of a sudden. You'll notice I'm still pretty much sewing towards me, except for when I go to throw this next throw, that's sewing away from me. A lot of individuals like to do that. I don't see it as efficient as throwing towards me. I think it's more of a control thing for energy, you know, as far as what your dominance of your hand does. All right, so when we lock, there's a couple ways, but I'm just going to show you the way that I was taught. When we lock a horizontal, you can see that I've released some of this edge piece without the knot. What I will do then is I still want to roll my needle. Hold on a second. I still want to roll my needle, but when I roll it, I'm going to roll towards the tail, which means that I've got to come a little bit towards me. So I'm rolling 1, 2, and I should have gotten you a little bit more suture, but we'll make this work. So I will roll 1, 2. I'm going to go through my hoop and grab my needle, or my tail, all right? So my tail then comes opposite. Basically what you've done, if you think about it, is you've made a figure 8 on the top of the actual incision, all right? So it's one way to look at it, with the exception that you have this kind of hoop that's coming around. Then I roll towards the tail 1 time, and I'm gonna bring it back, opposite ends, just like normal. And then I'm gonna take the suture, roll towards the tail, and now I'm gonna do opposite ends again. I'm gonna crisscross. This is a really good suture in the sense that it does bring it everts the skin really well. Again, it's a matter of time, technique, how beautiful you want it to look. Obviously, you can get somewhat creative with this, but this is called the locking horizontal, which is next to the regular horizontal. All right. We're going to take a break.